welcome into another episode of IUP's TV show, The Big Hit. Hope you all had an awesome spring break. I know I did. We have three awesome segments for you guys today. We're going to start the show with a little bit of NHL with Sean Fritz and Anthony DiRenzo. We're going to be talking about some of the league's best goaltenders, and it's Stanley Cup playoff time, one of the best times of the year for the NHL, so you don't want to miss that segment. Then we're going to jump into a little bit of the NBA with Darnell Turner and Izzy Mohammed. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we're going to talk a little about the Clippers. Then we're going to jump into Russell Westbrook and his 34 triple-doubles. Awesome. And then we're going to talk a little about James Harden. We're going to then end the show today with a Sweet 16 preview from Jose Villeneuve and Kevin Bohan. It's going to be an awesome show. You don't want to miss it.
Here at the Big Hit, we're a pretty supportive group of people. You know, it can be slightly nerve-wracking going on air at times, so occasionally we like to give our analysts a little extra boost of confidence.
And welcome into the Big Hit. I'm your host, Sarah Moltz. I'm here with Sean Fritz and a fresh new face, Anthony DiRenzo. Welcome, his first Big Hit debut. Happy to have you here. It's time to talk some NHL, boys. All right, let's get to it. With the regular season winding down, the Eastern Conference playoff outlook is looking just about set with the exception of second wild card spot currently held by Toronto. Who do you think will ultimately secure this wild card spot and have their ticket to the Stanley Cup playoffs?
For me, I think it's really just coming down to two teams with about a dozen games left in the regular season, give or take. I think it really comes down to two teams, Toronto being one of them. They're currently in the spot. Behind them, by either a point or two, is the New York Islanders. For me, I really haven't been on the Toronto train all season. I think that they've got a lot of really young guys who are going to be really, really good hockey players in the next couple of years in the National Hockey League. But I don't know if it's their time right now. I'm not saying they're going to choke, but for me, if I was a betting man, I would put my money on the New York Islanders. I think with their experience in the postseason and with their leadership with guys like John Tavares, Andrew Ladd, who's a big free agent signing, is a good veteran presence in their dressing room. They got off to a really slow start this season, fired head coach Jack Capuano. I think after that happened, they kind of woke up and they really kind of caught fire, especially in the second half. I think they're a hot team coming down the stretch. Toronto, I just don't think they have the experience right now. I think they're going to be there in either next year or in a couple of seasons. But right now, if I had to pick between those two, which I think it's just coming down to those two, I'm going to take the Islanders.
All right.
I would have to totally agree with that. I mean, I really think that Toronto has impressed a lot this year. Obviously, the Islanders are a great team. I think John Tavares leading them, obviously, that shows that they have the playoff experience to get there. But I really think that the NHL, more than some other leagues, sometimes the young guys could really get out there and rally. So I would pick the Maple Leafs. I really think they could do it.
All right, I like it. The Vezina Trophy, given to the league's best goaltender. Seems like it will be a close race this year with a variety of goaltenders that have been doing really well this season. Many of them are leading in statistical categories. Who do you think will win that award come season end?
This was a really tough one for me to come up with. Like you said, there's so many guys you can go with for the Vezina this season. Sergei Bobrovsky's one who comes to mind. He's got the best goals against average. I think he also leads in shutouts. Scott Darling is up there in Chicago. Devin Dubnyk has had a stellar season in Minnesota. He's part of the reason why they are where they are atop the Central Division. Braden Holtby, another one in Washington, has been stellar again. Obviously, last year's Vezina Trophy winner. So this one really could go any way. Right now, I'm going to say Bobrovsky. I think Bobrovsky leading in wins and goals against average, and Columbus being one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League, I think will definitely play to his advantage. So I'll take Sergei Bobrovsky. I think he's had a great bounce-back season for Columbus, and Columbus as a club has had a great bounce-back season as well. So I'll give it to Bobrovsky, but it really could go anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree there. Bobrovsky's had a great year, but I think Holtby might again come away with it just because of how awesome Washington again has looked the entire season. And I think he actually leads in the shutouts, but
Right, yeah,
definitely,
I think you're right about that.
at the end of the day, I really think it'll come down to those two probably. But I think Bobrovsky probably just because Holtby won it last year.
It'll be a tight race for sure. It'll be interesting to see who wins that. Let's talk about teams. What team, Sean, is your biggest disappointment in the second half of the season?
Well, I've got two. I've got one in each conference. As far as the Eastern Conference goes, the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Tampa Bay Lightning went to the Stanley Cup Final 2 years ago and the Eastern Conference Finals a season ago, where they were defeated by Pittsburgh. I know they lost Steven Stamkos, their captain, who's a huge piece for them, but they have played well in years past with the loss of Stamkos at times because he's been so injury prone over the past couple of seasons. They've played well without him until they've been able to get him back where they would catch fire. This year, not so much. Stamkos went down for an extended period of time, and Tampa Bay really wasn't able to get clicking at all at any point in this season. I know they've improved a lot, and they are contending for a playoff spot for that second wildcard spot, and they're a team who could slide in there. I think it's more likely that Toronto or the Islanders take that spot, but Tampa Bay still does have a shot. But I expected them to be atop of the Atlantic Division this season. They weren't. So they've been disappointing for me in the second half. I thought that they would catch fire more and probably move into one of those top three spots in the Atlantic. In the Western Conference, for me, it's going to be the Dallas Stars. They were the best team in the Western Conference last year. Fell in the playoffs. This year, not in the playoff hunt at all. They were sellers at the deadline. Dallas was an extremely disappointing team to me all season, not just the second half.
To me, I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Flyers. I think it is totally unacceptable after making the playoffs last year. I think also with a worse team. And now they have guys like Ian Pavrov helping out. Konechny has been a first liner. Voracek's showing up. Wayne Simmons is playing than he ever has. It's really unacceptable that they're at the point they are right now, and the fact that they aren't going to make the playoffs is disappointing.
You did get a 4-0 win over the Pens. That felt good, didn't it?
It did feel good.
It's kind of at a point where the Penguins are one of the hottest teams in the NHL. So
yeah.
They're in the postseason anyway. But the Flyers if they could have piled up a couple more of those, I think that would have benefited them.
I mean, they could still make it, but I'm just very doubtful.
It's a very low, less likely chance now than it has been. So we'll see.
You never know. You never know. All right. Well, it's almost time, guys. It's playoff time. It's one of the best times in NHL of the year. Stanley Cup playoffs. We talked about this multiple times before the show, but the time has come to talk about what teams you're going to expect to be in the first couple rounds. With that said, who is the hottest team in your opinion that you would not want to run into come first round?
Well, that's the thing. You mentioned it. We've said it a million times on the show talking about the National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Come playoff time, this time of the year, late March, early April, it's about who's the hottest team, who catches fire at the right time. And a lot of times it could be sparked by a goaltender. Other times, it's just, a thing of depth. So for me, I think there's two options that you can go with. Last year I said Washington because they were, the President's Trophy winner, and they were scorching hot at the beginning of the season. Not so much at the end, but I thought they'd have enough to carry in the playoffs. This year I think Pittsburgh is the hottest team. I think Pittsburgh, in terms of who I wouldn't want to face in the first or second round, if I were an NHL franchise or running an NHL franchise, I would not want to face Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's depth is unmatched. I think the only team that really can match it is Washington. The thing that scares me about Washington is the Washington curse, how they can't get past the second round of the playoffs, especially in the Ovechkin era. So for me, I'm going to say Pittsburgh. I think their depth is scary. I think Matt Murray is a streaky goaltender who can get really hot. So that's a team I would definitely look out for.
I would have to say the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think they've really improved this year, really impressed in that division.
They definitely have a big bounce back year.
Exactly, and a lot of teams, I think, in that division always make excuses because there are teams like the Capitals and the Penguins in it. So they've really showed up this year. I would not want my team facing them. I really think they could really go all the way.
All right, well, it is NHL playoff time. We couldn't be more excited here on the Big Hit. We're going to be talking about it for the next couple weeks, so stay tuned. For our NHL segment, I'm Sean Fritz and Anthony Dorenzo. Thanks for being here. We hope to see you again. And stay with us. We'll be right back with a little bit of NBA. It is NBA time here on The Big Hit. I'm here with Darnell Turner and Izzy Muhammad. How are you guys today? What's going on?
Feeling great.
We're good. Ready to talk some
Glad to
NBA?
be back. Yes.
Yes, right after spring break. All right, let's do it. This past weekend, as you guys know, the Cleveland Cavaliers, set out the Big Three during a nationally televised games against the Clippers. This saw the lowest ratings in a while for a national televised NBA game since, 1994. What should be done, if anything, by the league? Why do you think it was rated so low?
Well, like you said, the Cavs set out the Big Three, and that's pretty much your audience right there. They want to see LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, the best team in the Eastern Conference. And, it's kind of hard. LeBron said the league, there's nothing they can do. And you think about it, what can they really do? And, the only solution I can think of is, shortening the season. And, that's going to be a long process if they ever get to that point. But, it's just the fact that it's a long season and coaches are going to sit their players. Now, we may not agree with it. I certainly don't agree with it. Fans pay their money to see these players, and these ticket prices can get expensive, especially when you're coming to see players like LeBron James and you're spending that kind of money and he doesn't play. I'm pretty sure you're disappointed. And just, the TV games nationally televised, like you said, the ratings are going down. So, business, they're losing money, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to see that. So I don't know what they can do, but it's definitely a problem.
That's a great point. What do you think is?
See, here's my problem with it. I understand that you need rest because you're playing 82 games, and that's by no feat of being like a short season, if anything. So what I have is two solutions for that. I feel like that either you limit the amount of games that you can rest players, or you shorten the season, like Darnell was saying. But for them to not play against the Clippers and then the next game play against the Lakers is disgusting. Because first, the Lakers they're a troubling franchise that no one really wants to see the Cavaliers versus the Lakers. They want to see the Cavs versus the Clippers. That's a game that I would want to watch, especially if I got floor seats to that game, or even being in the building just to watch these type of players. LeBron, if I get a chance to watch LeBron before he's retired, that's a great game for me. But if I pay all that money and then I'm not able to go to the game, that's just disrespectful. And then you sit out against one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team, to just play against the Lakers, and then you do not play against the Clippers. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I would be pretty upset too if I had paid all that money to go see LeBron and he wasn't playing, no matter who they were playing against, Because I feel like even if they were playing against the Lakers and the tickets were cheaper, I'd still go and see him. Like, that'd be a better opportunity to see him. But yeah, I don't know. That was interesting.
The fans get robbed the most.
Yeah, they really do. They definitely do. Well, apparently some other team that got robbed a little bit, or talking about being robbed, was their report said Golden State Warriors are really upset with the way that Oklahoma City was handling the whole Kevin Durant situation in his return. The boos were pretty heavy. They're booing a lot. The crowd was going crazy. How do you feel about that? How do you feel? Do you feel like the organization had paid a little bit more tribute to Durant, or, what do you think about that, Izzy?
See, now here's another problem that I have with that. Now, everyone already knows, if you watch the show, that I do not agree with Kevin Durant leaving and going to the Warriors, making that team ridiculous as it is. But the way I see it is, you cannot allow them to they can disrespect his name, like they can boo him and all of that. But they have that right. But I feel like you have to give him his respect. Give him at least one game when he first comes back. Thank you for all your work. Like the first game that they first returned to, yes, that he deserves some sort of tribute. After that, they can boo him as much as they want, because when you have a guy like Kevin Durant, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, he's probably going to finish as one of the best players of all time, and then you leave the city that you were at, which you were playing for so many of your career, and then you just go to another team that's already super powered. It really doesn't look good for Oklahoma City fans there. I know that just hurt them because that set back their franchise years. Even though they have Russell, that's just not enough. Having KD would have been, acceptable.
What do you think? You agree?
Yeah, I think the organization should have paid him just a little bit of a tribute. The boos were inevitable. Fans are going to be upset. This was an all-star player, an MVP. But like, he was an MVP. He gave that organization 9 great years. They were a top contended team for year after year because of Kevin Durant. And, fans were hurt. The organization was hurt. We know that. But I think for all he gave that organization, because he really went out there and played hard every night and tried to win a championship for them, I think they could have gave him like a little bit of a tribute video, and that could be all of it. You don't have to do anything extra, but just a little bit. Show some respect for what he did give to that organization for years.
Well, you talked about how Durant is such an all-star. Let's talk about another guy who's been a huge all-star this season, Russell Westbrook. 34 triple-doubles. 34 triple-doubles. That's crazy. The record for triple-doubles in a season is 41, which is held by Oscar Robertson. With 12 games left in the season, regular season, what's he going to do? He's going to lock it in? Is he going to go over 41, or is he going to get there and not get enough? What do you think, Darnell?
It's tough.
It's tough.
He didn't get one last night against the Warriors. He's got a couple of tough games against some tough defensive opponents. Going against Memphis and San Antonio. A couple of gritty teams that it's not going to be easy to get a triple double against, but it's kind of hard to go against Russell Westbrook. He's been doing it so far this season all along. He's just been great, and he just surprises you every night. And so far, I couldn't go against him. I think he'll get it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Darnell 100%. I believe when you have a player like Russell Westbrook, he knows how many he's away from it. He knows how many games he has to do it. I feel like that he takes it in 7 easily. He might get 8, but what you have to realize is that he's playing some tough opponents, and he's going to have to. Everyone's going to want him to not break that record. Regardless, he's still going to average triple-double for the season, I believe, at the end. So them trying to block him from doing that is just ridiculous, because he's still going to be the next player to average triple-double for an entire season. So I don't understand the way that they're going to try to do this, but we're going to see Russell do what he do best and ball out.
Well, let's stay on the triple-double train. James Harden has been another outstanding player. He has had 4 consecutive games with a triple-double. The only other player to do that, as we talked about, it was Westbrook with last year with 25. Oh, okay, so we have Harden, we have Westbrook, having historical years. Who's your choice for MVP this season? MVP.
Right now, I'd have to go with James Harden.
Oh.
And Russell Westbrook, it's historical, and him averaging a triple-double, it's really pulling me to picking him, and it's so hard because that's ridiculous. That's really hard to do, and he has to expend so much energy on both ends of the floor, and he's just having an amazing season. But I think what James Harden has done with that team, and they have 49 wins. They only won 41 games all of last year and got them top 3 in the West. I think the fact that they're competing, he's going to get the edge in the MVP voting, but these two both have had historical seasons, and if there was a co-MVP, it definitely could be both of them. It's hard to choose, but I'll have to go with Harden.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to have to give this to Russell just because, well, you can see the numbers. He's averaging 30, 10, and 10, and when you think about that there's no one, like you said, there's no one doing that. There's no one averaging 30, 10, and 10. Like, Harden's close, but also Harden has a little bit more in the turnover game. And people don't understand. This is what really grinds my gears. Most valuable player doesn't mean most valuable team. It means most valuable player. Most valuable player in this league will be Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is the epiphany of the league right now. He's the best point guard in the game. When you think about this guy, Russell Westbrook, you know where you want to get every game with him. He's never going to take a game off. Okay, yes, James Harden, he's playing spectacular. He's having a great year. He has a better team. We know that. Russell Westbrook, he's working with what he has. They're winning some games, but most valuable player is the MVP, and the most valuable player to me is Russell Westbrook.
You don't think Curry plays any role in that?
I don't think so.
Not this year?
Not this year, especially with Kevin Durant coming. He's just not having the type of season we're used to. But he's still having a great year. But Kevin Durant was, he was getting most of the buckets on that team before he got hurt. But I think it's only down to Westbrook and Harden, in my opinion.
Yeah, Curry lost his team. It's now Kevin Durant's team. So
Curry lost his team. I mean, you cannot deny the man's great too. But it's nice to see a little bit of new, fresh names. Like someone who, and they all deserve it. But it'll be interesting to see for sure. All right, for our NBA segment, that was Darnell Turner and Izzy Mohammed. Stay tuned. We have a Sweet 16 preview with Kevin Bohan and Jose Villeneuve next.
So, guys, with the tournament coming up, what are IUP's chances this year?
I think they have a really good chance because the PSAC is not that strong compared to IUP. IUP moves the ball a lot quicker than most teams. They're very well-rounded. They've been playing together for a while. They've got a lot of big-time transfers. So I think that they have the edge over most of their opponents simply because they have experience. Experience gives you the edge any day of the week. So that's definitely why I think they can win the PSAC tournament for sure. What do you think, Norm?
I'm IUP basketball player Brandon Norfleet. And this is the Big Hit.
Welcome back in, sports fans, to the Big Hit with our special Sweet 16 tournament edition. I'm here with Kevin Bohan to talk about what we expected out of the tournament, what didn't go wrong, what did go right, and what our predictions are going to be going down the road. So, Kevin, how's your bracket looking?
Not so great anymore. The upsets in the first couple rounds got to me, and I didn't pick the right ones. So, as of right now, I'd say my bracket's pretty busted.
Is your champion gone?
Oh, they're gone.
Yeah, who is it?
It was the Duke Blue Devils.
Of course it was.
And they are gone. So it's gonna be tough unless everybody else's champ loses. I'd say I'm pretty much done for this year's March Madness.
You know, I'm happy about that. But speaking of upsets, you said that you correctly predicted which ones?
Well, obviously I had a couple of the earlier upsets, some of the 12/5s that everybody ended up picking. But I'd say the big one I picked through in the beginning there was Michigan to beat Louisville in the second round, which did end up happening on Sunday.
Yeah, I actually picked Middle Tennessee State over Minnesota. I thought that was a pretty good one. But the one that really screwed me was Bucknell over
Winthrop.
Winthrop.
No, West Virginia.
No, West Virginia. Yeah,
West Virginia.
That's right.
West
See,
Virginia.
we don't even remember already. But yeah, I actually picked Bucknell to go deeper than that game, so my bracket's pretty screwed. Of course, UNC's still my champion, so I'm still alive. But the big thing that I missed was Villanova. I wanted a rematch just to make my heart feel better, but I'm not going to get that. But.
Oh, Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin's looking good the way they beat them. They're playing good inside and out right now.
It was a very good game. But looking forward, we mentioned Wisconsin, Florida, Baylor, and South Carolina. There are no 1 or 2 seeds in that bracket. Who do you think of those 4 teams is going to make the Final Four?
This is definitely the most confusing bracket because, like you said, there's no higher seeds left in the bracket. If I had to pick a team right now, based on the teams I've seen play, I'd actually have to go with Wisconsin as the team that I would like to come out of that bracket. Obviously, South Carolina played well against Duke. They put up 65 points and a half. That's incredible offense right there. Baylor still to me doesn't look like they're fully there as a team. I feel like Baylor was a little overseeded and got a little bit of an easier track to the Sweet 16 than other teams. And Florida, I believe they lucked out, got 2 easy first games to play East Tennessee State, and then in the second round played a Virginia team that I thought all year wasn't a very strong team, very skeptical team all year. So I feel like out of that bracket, Wisconsin has the best shot at coming out right now.
Yeah, definitely. And they don't even look like they don't have a hard bracket at all. Like you're not facing Gonzaga or UNC or Kansas at all. Yeah, you're facing these scrub teams.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's the tournament. Nobody can be a scrub anymore.
That's true. It's a good point. But all right, so Gonzaga, West Virginia, Xavier, and Arizona make up the West. Who do you think comes out of that division?
I think if Gonzaga ends up beating West Virginia, I think they make it to the Final Four. I think that's the toughest spot they're going to be. I want to see how Gonzaga deals with West Virginia's press. Press Virginia, as they've been calling them all tournament, plays great defense, pick you up 94 feet for the entire game, and they never slow down. If Gonzaga can win that game, I think they make it to the Final Four. That being said, I don't think they win that game, and I think West Virginia and Arizona play in the Elite Eight, and Arizona evidently goes to the Final Four from that bracket. I really like Arizona. And if they end up making it to the Final Four, the games are in Glendale. So it's basically a 2 straight home games for Arizona down there would be huge for them.
That's true. There's no argument for me here. I think Arizona's going to run away with that region. Okay, so Kansas, Purdue, Oregon, and Michigan make up the Midwest. Who do you have making it out of there?
Kansas. You don't even need to get into much after this one. Kansas has clearly looked like the best team in the tournament from start to finish. From the first 2 games, I should say. Yeah. So far, Frank Jackson playing great, showing that he should be the player of the year in college basketball. Josh Jackson's draft stock keeps rising, and Devontae Graham too, completing that great backcourt that they've got going together. So I think Kansas has the best shot to make it to the Final Four, especially with an Oregon team who's playing well right now, but is beat up a little bit. If Oregon was a little healthier, that might be a different game. But right now, Kansas is bracket for sure.
I think Kansas is going to face their toughest test in Purdue, even including if they go on, just because of Swanigan and how thin they are down in the paint. But those guards, Jackson, like you said, Mason and Graham, are just too fast. And when you get in transition, you cannot keep up with Kansas' tempo.
Oh no!
And that's
and they can all shoot too.
Exactly.
So you got to watch. You got to protect the hoop and protect the 3-point line.
And when one of them's off, someone's going to be even hotter. But I agree with you. I think Kansas runs away with that. There's too much to pass away because I don't see any of these teams competing with them. Their shooting and their tempo. All right. So UNC, Butler, UCLA, and Kentucky make up the South. Who do you think is going to make it out of there?
This is probably the most exciting bracket we have
Absolutely.
left. I mean, you were talking about it before we went on. UCLA and Kentucky is probably going to be the most interesting game, a rematch from a game we saw earlier this year where UCLA went into Kentucky and actually ended up beating them. I think Kentucky gets revenge in that game. It ends up going on to the Elite Eight to play North Carolina, which would be another rematch that we saw earlier this year. But I don't think there's going to be any revenge in this one. I think Kentucky wins for the second time in a close game against North Carolina to make it onto the Final Four out of that region. I really like how Malik Monk's been playing in the tournament. He hasn't been doing a lot of scoring, but what he has been doing is drawing a lot of attention to himself, which has been getting a lot of the other guys involved. And De'Aaron Fox has proven that he's going to be a top pick in next year's NBA draft too. So I really like how Kentucky's doing down there. And a lot of people aren't talking about him, but Bam Adebayo inside for Kentucky is a big, strong post presence who's going to go pretty early in the NBA draft as well. And a lot of people aren't talking about him.
I agree with a couple things you said, but I actually think Lonzo Ball has been playing out of his mind, and he will lead UCLA over Kentucky to play UNC. And then I got UNC just because of the bigs comparing. Also, you know, I'm a UNC fan. But I think Lonzo Ball might be the second best player in the tournament, not named Josh Jackson. And as much as I hate his dad with everything he's saying, he really is a good player. He does make everyone better, and he is fun to watch, I got to admit. But I wish Kentucky was not in this side of the region, because a Kentucky-Kansas rematch in the title game would have been the best possible scenario for me. But I have a Kansas-UNC Final Four with Carolina winning, facing Arizona. What about you?
Let's see, for my Final Four, I would go with Kansas, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Arizona, with Kentucky playing Arizona and Arizona ultimately winning it. I think those two, the fact that Arizona's playing in Glendale and being that good of a team, having to play in the Pac-12 all year, they know how to score the ball.
Right.
They make it to the Final Four. Those two home games are huge out there. I think it's
That's a great point.
I think it's an easy path once Arizona makes it in.
All right. So you guys heard it here first. That was our Sweet 16 preview. Make sure you catch into the tournament and catch us next week on The Big Hit when we tell you what happened in the past week, and we make our future predictions to see if we got any upsets right. For producers Sean Fritz, Michael Martone, and yours truly, this is A Big Hit, everyone.